going to go ahead and get started.
Good to see you.
Good morning, everyone. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for coming today. First up to speak, we will have County Executive Marc Elrich. Second up after County Executive Elrich will be Jeff Waldstreicher, and that's common spelling for Jeff. Last name is W-A-L-D, as in dog, S-T-R-E-I-C-H-E-R, Waldstreicher. He's the District 18 Senator and Vice Chair of the Judicial Proceedings Committee. After Jeff would be Jared Solomon. He is the District 18 delegate and lead bill sponsor for the Safety Corridor Bill. And last will be Christopher Tippery. He is the Director of the Automated Traffic Division for the Montgomery County Police Department. They will be speaking one after another. We will not be introducing them after each person speaks. After everyone is done, we will allow at least 5 minutes for questions. Just want to make note that we will not be talking about the contract because that is still under litigation. So we don't want to enter into any topics regarding contracts. But again, 5 minutes. We will have a microphone that we will pass around for anyone who has questions to make sure that anyone who's watching online will be able to hear the questions. First up is County Executive Marc Elrich.
So thank you all for being here today, and I want to thank the delegation for sponsoring two of the speed camera laws that took effect on October 1st. Delegate Von Stewart, who's not here, I want to thank him for supporting the graduated fine schedule, for sponsoring it. I want to thank Delegate Jared Solomon for sponsoring the speed camera placement allowance for our high-risk roads, and Senators Jeff Waldstreicher and Will Smith for championing the bills and clearing them through the Senate's Judicial Proceedings Committee. We've shared Vision Zero goals to end serious injuries and fatalities on our roadways, and we're working with our county delegation in a crucial part of advancing safety on our roads. And it's important that we continue to do more. There is space for us to do work yet, and we're really happy with the progress we've made, though. And the recent deaths, the last two fatal crashes which just occurred, one a 16-year-old male on University Boulevard West and the other a 52-year-old female along Veers Mill Road, both these crashes very close to here, highlight the need for continued work. People continue to speed and to not be cognizant of pedestrians on the road, and we need to continue to accelerate our ability to impress on people that we're going to make speeding difficult and expensive, and that's what we should be doing. The hit and run along Veers Mill Road, the driver and the vehicle have both been found. So we know who did it, and we await the investigation. We know that speed cameras save lives. An independent evaluation of the police's speed camera program found that cameras lower driver speed and they lower injuries. We don't do this to collect revenue. The county spends much more money on safety projects than the speed and red light cameras collect. In fact, what the revenues allow us to do is to divert more money into speed and red light camera programs. So it helps us make the county safer. It's not here to just collect revenues from our residents. It is about holding drivers accountable. No one has the right to break the law, including speed limits. And by following the speed limits, you keep yourself and everyone on the road safer. And I'm not seeing the chart up here, but I think the most impressive or depressing chart is the chart that shows the possibility of fatality based on the speed of a vehicle in an accident. And speed kills. It's literally true. Graduated fines are meant to curb excessive speed. The math is simple. The faster you're going, the higher the risk to everyone on the road. And that's another issue, because if you get a speed camera violation, you're not getting points because they can't identify the driver. And if you all pay the same fee, same penalty, if it's $40 for whether you're going 12 miles over the limit or 50 miles over the limit, There's something wrong with that. So the graduated fines will make this, I think, less appealing to exceed the speed limit here. And that's an important thing for us to keep in mind. Many known crash hotspots are on roads like Georgia Avenue, Rockville Pike, Randolph Road, Fears Mill Road. We're ineligible for speed cameras under existing state law. The speed cameras will go in after a study finds the need for a speed camera and that a camera would help address the road's safety needs. And the new fine revenue collected will be used to advance safety studies and projects on our higher crash risk corridors. And I think one of the most important things, I was talking about this with somebody on the way over here, is where we've got crosswalks with lights, a mile or so apart, which is a long way to go to ask people to get off a bus and walk to the next crosswalk. We need to look at opportunities to put more hawk signals in, where a person who wants to cross the street can actually cross the street. And if we're going to have mid-block buses stopping mid-block on our major corridors, we have to consider putting in mid-block hawk signals as well. We need to make it feasible for pedestrians to get safely across the street. And I think these are some opportunities for us to look at more aggressive ways of slowing people down. It's all of our goal to reach Vision Zero. That means slowing down and respecting each other on the road. I want to thank everybody here for their role and support in working together to make this happen. And I'm going to turn this over to, I think, Jeff Waldstreicher.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jeff Waldstreicher. It's my honor to serve as the state senator representing the district where we are right now. I was also the lead sponsor with Delegate Von Stewart of the graduated fines legislation that will go into effect tomorrow. And we're going to hear a lot today about pedestrian safety, road safety, and all the users in our community. But I want to step away from the road safety jargon and talk directly to the super speeders who would endanger our community and threaten the lives of my neighbors. Starting tomorrow, the fines will increase dramatically. If you go 30, 40 miles per hour above the speed limit, you are subject up to a $425 fine. And not only will the fees get to you, but our officers will pull you over. And if you run and you threaten life and limb in our community, they will chase you. And if you commit a felony during that chase, you will spend a good amount of time in our finest correctional facilities. After COVID, we saw folks just driving a little bit crazy, and we're done with that. We're starting to crack down. Our county government, in partnership with our state government, in partnership with our police officers, are starting to say that enough is enough. And so if you drive in a way that threatens those in our community, you will be caught. You will be subject to the fines you see to my left. You will be subject to incarceration, and we're going to make our community safer. Now I want to introduce my colleague and friend, Delegate Jared Solomon.
Good morning. My name is Delegate Jared Solomon, and like Senator Waldstreicher, I have the privilege of getting to represent Wheaton, this district in the House of Delegates. And I want to thank you all for being here, and I want to thank really the county team, and you're going to hear from Chris Tippery, who runs our automated enforcement unit, but his team and the fine officers behind me. We're just incredible partners. This was a bill that took 3 years, and we're very happy that it's crossed the finish line, that it's going to go into effect tomorrow. And the bottom line is, this is a step towards making our roads safer. Before I get into the details of the bill, I want to recognize, as the county executive did, the 2 lives that we lost just within the last 10 days. James Anderson on University Boulevard, and Ms. Prajabhati just up the road here in the Wheaton Central Business District on Fears Mill. Any life lost on our road is a life too many. And I see a lot of advocates in the audience here, some of whom have been touched by tragedy, unfortunately, themselves, and have turned it into action. And that's why we're here. That's why I sponsored the bill. That's why we worked so long to get it through. Because at the end of the day, it is not going to solve everything, but it is a huge step in the right direction. And what the high injury network placement of speed cameras will allow is essentially the high injury network covers about 3% of the roadways in Montgomery County out of the entirety of the county's road system network between county roads and state roads. But within that 3%, those 3% make up about 41% of either fatal or serious collisions. So I want you to think about that. That's about 100 miles of road, give or take, considering the amount of roads that we have in this county, and yet more than 40% of the fatal crashes or serious collisions happen on that tiny percentage of our roadways. And that's essentially what we're saying is we want to do everything we can to make those roadways as safe as possible. We're not going after law-abiding citizens. As many of you know, you don't actually get a ticket from a speed camera until you go 12 miles over the speed limit. So if you're going a little over, you're not watching your speedometers closely, that's fine. That's not who we're going after. We're going after people with a, frankly, blatant disregard for laws and regulations that make our roadways safe. For the children who are crossing to get to school, to the mom or dad who's trying to get to the bus stop so that they can get to work safely or catch the metro, or the teenagers that are just trying to get something at 7-Eleven. We know, frankly, that we have roads throughout this county, throughout this state, that were designed for a very different time, for a very different era. And they don't really serve our communities anymore. When you're crossing a 7 or 8 lane, frankly, super highway, smack in the middle of a residential district, where schools may be on either side, right? But that costs sometimes billions of dollars to reconstruct a road. What we can do now is place a speed camera there and say to drivers, it is a privilege, not a right, to be on this road. And if you are going to abuse that privilege, you are going to pay for it. Because the cost to our community is lives. And I don't mean to get kind of emotional, but it's been a rough couple of days working with the community and the families to see the lives that have been shattered because people are not driving appropriately. And so I am thrilled that this bill is going to go into effect tomorrow. We'll give the county the ability to place cameras across Montgomery County in places where we have the most unsafe stretches of roads. Again, as you heard from the county executive, what is really critical, this is not a revenue grab. This is about taking the money that is gained, that the county gets from these cameras, and literally turning it right around. In the bill, it is required that that money is immediately reinvested into structural improvements to our roadways. These cameras are one part of the solution. We know there's much more work that needs to be done in terms of structural solutions and actual changes in pavements, but this is a first step. And so I'm thrilled that this bill is going to go into effect. Again, I want to thank our incredible county partners who you're going to hear from in a minute, and just really look forward to hopefully making our community a little bit safer for everybody, not just folks walking, but folks driving as well. And I think I'm going to turn it over to Chris Tippery.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for coming to this press conference to announce the upcoming legislation that will go into effect tomorrow. It's been a long, hard fight to get this across the finish line, and working with Delegate Solomon for the past 3 years has definitely been a privilege to see how we go step by step through the process of actually discussing the legislation, drafting it, and then working it through the process, not only once, but 3 times. We're excited to look at the high incident network and apply automated enforcement to the network to show the effectiveness of automated enforcement. It was due to the efforts in the past and the successes that we've reached in the past to push us forward to expanding the capabilities of automated enforcement to those roadways that are the most dangerous. So we're currently studying areas of the high incident network where you'll see appropriate signage placed, notifying everyone that automated enforcement will be active in the area. And we're going to, the corridor concept is being reiterated so we can randomly place the cameras as to where they're most effective. So you'll see the analysis as it begins with speed data that we're collecting currently, and then we'll be able to articulate the effectiveness of automated enforcement and how it reduces, impacts collisions, and improves driver safety, and changes overall behavior in those corridors. There's a lot of effort that goes into it, a lot of analytics. We worked in partnership with Wheaton from our Vision Zero, and determining where those cameras would be best placed and what roadways would be accurately determined. We'll be reporting out the success of the program every 5 years with the Vision Zero report that he'll be producing. Thank you.
Okay, we will open it up for at least 3 to 5 minutes of questions. We do have Nicole with the microphone, so if anyone has a question, please raise your hand, and Nicole will come by with the microphone.
I'm not sure who the best person to respond to this question, but it's more so about the process and setting up and installing the cameras. Who or what county agency is responsible for that, and will there be new signs alerting drivers to, hey, there's a new camera right here or coming up, and will there be a list as well of the new locations?
Oh, no, you're fine. No, fine. So no, we do. We begin with a traffic study. The traffic study, we focus on the 85th percentile. 85% of the vehicles that we study have to be going at least 12 miles an hour over the speed limit. Then we start looking at crash data and the amount of traffic that travels through the area. And that's where it begins. The 85th percentile is just a start. It's not the overall guideline, because we found that in some instances that the speeds and the amount of traffic, if the traffic's kind of light, we kind of we have to look at the impact. Is there a school? Is there a community center? And that helps us in the overall determination. Once we compile that, we all meet together. I work in the traffic division for the county police department, and we determine if that's going to be a successful location. Once that's determined, state law requires that we post the signage 15 days prior to enforcement, and we also have to post the locations in a newspaper of general circulation, which we do anyway, and we'll also post it on our website. That runs for 15 days. What we like to do is go ahead and put the speed camera at the location and turn it on. It's not capturing violations, it's not capturing any data, but it is set so it'll flash. So we're giving that additional awareness to the community that there is a camera here and it will be going live. Sometimes we'll take that for an extended period of time, depending on the location, to see the community's response. In new locations, in some instances, we've actually gone as far as to put 3-foot traffic cones around it, and at night we'll actually put up flares to show you where the camera is. We try to be as transparent as possible. The overall goal is just to slow people down and to make them accountable for the speeds that they're doing. We just want a safe commute and to be able to go to the store and not have to take your life in your hands when you do it.
Good morning. We've heard from several Montgomery County neighbors who say that there's a bit of a big brother aspect to this with the new cameras being added. Wanted to see if there was a message that you all could send to just reinforce that this is for traffic enforcement and making sure that, you know, it's for the safety of drivers as opposed to, you know, them feeling like they could potentially be spied on.
There's no big brother in this thing, unless it's the helpful brother trying to take care of the pedestrians on the street. That's the purpose of these cameras, is to keep people safe. It's not about harassing people, it's about safety. It's not about collecting money, it's about safety. And if people don't want to get a ticket, it's kind of easy to stay under the, as it was pointed out before, under 12 miles over the speed limit. If you think it's okay to go that fast, you should expect that someone's going to want to ticket you, because it's just not safe. If that road was meant to go at a higher speed, we would have set the speed limit at a higher speed. So people should take what they get, be happy it's not tagged to the speed limit, and there is no big brother for them to worry about unless they're doing things that endanger the community. Then they should worry.
Hi. So a couple things we wanted to point out, which was we're completely data driven. Where the data shows the problem is, that's where we go. Where Montgomery County and our program is unique is compared to other jurisdictions across the country, is that anybody can request us to come in and do an analysis. It's not by the police department unless that there's severe crashes or it's identified on the high incident network. Anybody can literally send us a request. You can go on our website and give us a location that you're concerned about, and we'll come and study it. We have over 400 locations throughout the county, and we have a limited supply of cameras that we can put there. So we do rotate the cameras through the network to ensure that once we have the foothold of accountability and we see a change in driver behavior, we can move that camera to a different location and then return back to it. We also have 107 school locations in school zones. A majority of our fixed pole cameras are in school zones, and what's not covered by school zones, we also use the portable cameras in those areas as well. It gives us the flexibility to move the system around so we can be most effective with the limited supply of cameras that we do have. We look forward to adding the network, the high incident network, to our program, and there might be some slight expansion of the cameras in the future once we determine what our commitment is to the network and whether it needs sustained enforcement with a fixed pole or whether it needs portable enforcement where we can just drop off portable cameras. Thanks.
Question?
Yes, please.
Nicole? Okay.
Testing. Tracy Furman, Mayor of the Town of Kensington. One light that was lost that was not mentioned was on 185, which is Connecticut Avenue. A woman was killed live. So I do want to point that out because so within less than a mile, we've had 2 deaths on 2 state roads. My question is, a lot of times we're trying to fix these things, but for local governments, we never hear on exactly what happened after the investigation. So it's hard to fix something when you don't know exactly what needs to be fixed. What speed? Was it pedestrian, being in the wrong place at the wrong time? So I was wondering just how do, particularly municipalities, do we get that information so we can help make sure that the correction is the right one?
Yeah, I'll take this question. Assistant Chief Dave McBain oversees the Field Services Bureau and the Traffic Division. So for all of these fatals, it's a pretty extensive reconstruction that we have a unit entirely devoted to reconstructing these collisions, collecting information, data, witness statements, looking at roadway topography, taking into account all the factors with the collisions. A general investigation of that magnitude, because we're talking about a death, takes several months. And then once that's done, we enter into the court systems and to the litigation of not only potentially a criminal aspect, but also a civil aspect as well. So a lot of times this takes time to sort through this. In addition to that, with Wade Holland from Vision Zero and members of the police department, we review these crashes. We review the things that we do see that could potentially be a problem that could be corrected, whether it's an engineering issue, whether it's an education issue, or some other type of preventative way that we can avoid these types of collisions in the past. And we try to be as transparent as possible. And obviously I know who you are, and we can work with our town leaders and other city managers to provide information to help sort through the issues that are occurring in your individual communities.
So some of that immediate information was getting back to people on the county level to understand what's going on.
Yeah, and then I'll let Wade also weigh in on the question.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Wade Holland with the Division Zero office in the County Executive's office. So as part of actually a statewide bill this past 2 or 3 years ago, I believe,
3 years ago.
Any sort of fatal crash involving a non-motorist, so pedestrian, scooter user, or bicyclist on a state road is automatically, we provide the preliminary information from the police to the State Highway Administration, and so they are supposed to do within 6 months a full review of that crash and they actually post those on their website. So if there's any you're interested in, if they're on the website, they've posted there. You always can follow up with SHA if you have any more questions about what their review found. And then for the county, it's not part of our law, but by practice, we also have MCDOT review all fatal crashes and post those results of what they found on their website.
Okay, I can just speak up. My name is Christy Athens, and I am a Wheaton resident, longtime state traffic safety advocate, and with Montgomery County Families for Safe Streets. Mayor Furman mentioned someone killed in Connecticut. There was also a woman in Blanca del Cid killed on Mearsville Road in July, and several question is actually around school zones and how you're working with Montgomery County Public Schools. Practically, a lot of these cameras that are on along our roadways are not in school zones, are not in formal school zones, including the camera that was on University Boulevard. I'm just curious what your plan is moving forward in terms of working with Montgomery County Public Schools and ensuring the safety of our high schoolers, our middle schoolers, and our elementary school kids who need to cross these high-speed, 6-lane highways to get to school, including my own children. Thank you.
Hey, Christy. I also want to shout out to the advocates down here that spend their own time. They're not going to pay like me to do this job, but they come out every day and go down to Annapolis and help us fight for these bills. So I want to thank them for being here and all the work that they do to help us champion safety. So working with schools, this is very important. As you mentioned, one of the powers that we have in Montgomery County is a lot of other municipalities and counties can only place in school zones. So we also look at that. We have the MCPS defined walkshed where students are basically required to walk or bike to school. MCDOT does a full assessment of those. And as part of that, can we look at traffic control devices as well as potentially recommending automated speed enforcement in those areas as well. We also work closely with our education partners inside of MCPS. That includes our Walking Wednesdays, which we do throughout the year. I think last year we visited over 90 different schools, part of our education and outreach, working with principals, working with community members in those schools, whether it's for an education event or for a safety study. So they're important partners, and making sure we always have them included is part of what we need to do with Vision Zero.
One of the things I will add, and Chrissy, thank you for being here. We, particularly in District 18, work very closely with the State Highway Administration and have been pushing them of late to expand the camera program to places that are technically within the half mile of the Safe Routes to School program, but may not necessarily be immediately in front of the school. So the Veers Mill example, you have two schools, Einstein and Newport Mills. Veers Mill technically falls within the scope of the Safe Routes program, and so cameras could be placed there. In addition, obviously, to what we've authorized. And some of you may know we passed a bill that I was proud to author 3 years ago called the Safe Walk to School Act. And what we required, beyond just Montgomery County, this applies statewide, is, as many of you probably know, we have a very robust capital contribution program where the state contributes pretty heavily to each individual county's school construction program. And so when a jurisdiction submits to the state, to the Interagency Commission on School Construction, their plans to receive their state capital dollars, what our bill requires is you have to have a proof that you have studied pedestrian safety in that plan to build a new school. So obviously, our jurisdictions sometimes spend upwards of $150 million when you're talking about building a high school and building, an additional sidewalk or putting in a new hawk signal or updating a trail may cost pennies on the dollar, but will ultimately make a tremendous difference in the safety of those students for potentially 20, 30, 40 years, whatever the lifespan of that school is. And so in addition to the requirement of doing the plan, each individual district has to engage their community on pedestrian safety, and they have to work in partnership between the State Highway Administration and their local Department of Transportation to make sure that they are thinking about how those students are going to be accessing the schools beyond just the bus and the car. They need to be thinking about the walk shed and how to make that school as safe as possible for years to come. And we're really happy that the IAC is now fully implementing that piece of legislation, and we've already seen it pay dividends in some of the schools in Montgomery County.
All right, thank you. That's going to conclude our news conference for today. Thank you.